Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to another fabulous edition of the Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce Chamber Chat. I am president of the Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce, Brad Klopfenstein. Today, we have a very special guest. He was guest number one way back when we first started doing these things. I don't even think we were calling them Chamber Chat at the time. It was just a way for chamber members to stay in communication with each other and some of the important people that are in our community. Since that time, Senator Jim Merritt announced that he was going to be stepping down from his position in the Senate after having been in there for the last 30 years and was the longest currently serving senator in the Indiana Senate. As of today, he is a private citizen, so the gloves are off. He is temporarily retired from public service, and he's joining us today. So, Jim, welcome to Chamber Chat. Thanks for being with us. How are you?
I'm well, Klopp. And I don't usually do this, but I'm going to give you a compliment. The chamber is in great shape with your presiding over it, and having conversations like this, like the golf outing and everything that you have with, like, for instance, the other night when we met over at George's place to talk with Andy Zay and Senator Ruckel's house. You got it going, bud. You got it going.
Hey, not everybody knows this, but Lawrence is going to be the center of the universe.
Well, right now it is.
So I enjoy it. I enjoy this gig. I think it suits me, and I appreciate those kind words because I enjoy doing this sort of thing, and I enjoy talking to people like you. Obviously, you and I have been friends for, 15 years probably. So I appreciate your support. So that being said, tell us what your plans are, what your thoughts are on yesterday, and just your general thoughts on the world.
Well, it's an interesting time in Indiana politics and really national politics. Yesterday, it was on the election itself. It seemed as though that the pundits and most of them thought that Biden was going to win in a walk, and that just wasn't the case. And I was watching the election results and all the talking heads last night, and it's quite clear to me that this country is continually divided half and half, and the cities are run by the liberals, and there's the rural areas are run by the conservatives. And yesterday bore that out, and I'm not surprised that we're not going to know for a little while who actually won the presidential election. I personally, as a Republican, am pleased that the Republicans are going to be running the U.S. Senate, and I think we're going to add some seats in the House. So the stock market's going straight up because they like divided government. And on the national scene, it's apparent that people really took advantage of picking through their ballot and picking who they wanted. And I truly believe you can't fool America. And they watch, they understand, and it's just always a civics lesson every election day that people know what's going on. And I'm just appreciative of the fact that we had a free day yesterday. I have a stepdaughter who voted for the first time, and when she was in the election place, she got a standing ovation, a lot like when she got her driver's license. And I just kind of try to encourage her to understand of how important that actually was yesterday, and the privilege that she had to vote. And I think it's hopefully she understands that and will do so in elections to come.
So let me get your take. In Indiana, obviously Donald Trump won by 20%. Eric Holcomb won by, gosh, almost 30%. Interestingly, Don Rainwater finished second in what looks like to be 33 counties. I think by my count, at least, it looks like the Indiana House Republicans picked up 6 seats to add to their supermajority. Senate, depending on how that Ruckelshaus race goes, Republicans either held steady or might lose 1 seat. What's your take on the way Indiana's going?
Well, it's hard to tell where we're going. It's easy to see where we've been. And for the last 6, 8, 10 months has been a topsy-turvy roller coaster of emotions for all 6.6 million Hoosiers. And Governor Holcomb has been trying with all his might to guide and lead. And I think it's been very, very difficult because we have so many freedom-loving Hoosiers who live in small towns, and John Cougar Mellencamp had it right. He was from a small town, and Indiana is made up of small towns. And in those small towns, they believe of almost self-governing, and couldn't really understand what was coming out of Indianapolis. And for that dress shop on the street corner of this town square in Salem, Indiana, that sold dresses, they'd have 5 people in for every couple of days, 10 customers a week. They couldn't understand why they had to wear masks. They couldn't understand why they had to close. And so it's just governing Indiana is a very difficult task. And as well as we could be put into 2 or 3 states. As the vice president likes to say, we make and we grow. And so there are a lot of enclaves. There's a lot of places in the state of Indiana who just couldn't understand a mask mandate or a shutdown. And so that made the last 6 or 8 months very difficult. And so going forward is very difficult to predict. One thing I can tell you is that shutdowns or lockdowns are cannot happen. They cannot happen. And a mask mandate has to be finessed if that's actually the case. And I really believe that it's governing is nuanced. Governing is very surgical and strategic, and I think it's going to take a lot for the governor in the next 4 years to hit on all cylinders to make sure that we're all going the same direction.
So let me ask you a little bit more about that. I'm hearing rumors that we might go back to stage 2 or stage 3 as early as this weekend. Do you think that's going to happen?
I first of all, my opinion is that would be so wrong. And when, like, for instance, I heard up in the state of Michigan, where if you sat down at a table in a restaurant, the server had to ask you your name and phone number so they can contact trace later if someone in the restaurant tests as positive. And I think that goes way too far. And I think Hoosiers are going to reject any type of rolling back any phase whatsoever. And I would disagree severely and seriously disagree with anything going forward in the way of a shutdown.
So, so let me ask you, have you been to all the 92 counties in your lifetime?
I've been to approximately 88, Klopp.
Do you have plans to pick up those other 4?
I'll be moving around with my podcast, Jim Merritt's Indiana. I'll be moving around to all regions of the state and talking about different ways to make life better in the different areas in the state of Indiana. And I plan on trying to visit all the counties in the next couple of years.
Nice. So, so you just completed 30 years in the Indiana Senate. Let's talk a little bit about your service to the state of Indiana. First, how did you even decide to run in the beginning? Tell us a little bit about your very first race, and then tell us about what you're most proud of over the last 30 years.
Well, I was raised in a Republican family, and people like Dick Lugar and Bill Hudnut and others were around my family a great deal. They were all family friends, and I really got the bug early for politics, and I was stuffing envelopes in 1975 for Bill Hudnut, and so it tends to, as you people probably on this call know, it gets into your blood. And when I worked for a member of Congress that lived in Kokomo and represented the northwest corner of Indiana from there, meaning all the way from Howard County all the way up to Lake County, I saw, things that I enjoyed. Plant tours. I enjoyed issues such as mental health. When I was a rebuff, we had a tour of LaRue Carter Hospital, and I was very interested in energy issues all the way back to the 80s. And so I just had an educated by experience situation in my life. And when Sarah Bobach decided that he needed to retire after 8 years, and I decided, I lived in Lawrence Township, and I threw my hat in the ring, and I was fortunate to get the nod. And my first race was really interesting because I had a 1-year-old, and I would put her on my back in a backpack, and we'd go door to door and constantly. And I really enjoy, Klopp, you know this, and so does Bill Smythe. I really enjoy people, all tracks of life, and I enjoy going door to door. And I think that really was the springboard to a long career, that understanding people and the constituent service, and even with the evil emails and letters, you go out and talk to them and make sure they know where you're coming from. And one of the best parts of my career was getting an email from someone or a letter from someone, and printing that email or getting that letter and going and seeing that person just to make sure they knew that I saw their letter, and to say my piece. And there's a lot of courage when you push that send button. and that's fun to have conversations with people that really didn't think they didn't think I'd be seeing their missive. So that's been a fun part to me of communicating with my constituents, 130,000 constituents.
So, all right. So of those 130,000, and obviously, heck, you've represented me twice in different places I've lived. So you say 130,000, but that number is actually, you probably represented a lot more than that, just because people moved in and out, and your district has swung from place to place.
Right. The district was, Klopp, the district was redrawn in 91, 2001, 2011, and now they'll redraw the district next year. So yes, I imagine I represented a lot more than 130,000 people.
I would say probably about 300,000.
Probably so.
If you're counting them over that time. Yeah. So what are you most proud of as far as initiatives that you've spearheaded and been a part of and were able to get through and made that Indiana code?
Well, it's interesting. It's not. It's the Indiana code, but it's also the contact. I have, and I'll continue it. I have what I call Merit Star Reader, where I go into fourth grade classes and I read Tony Dungy's book, You Can Do It. And then we go around the room and ask everybody to tell me what they want to be when they grow up. And I have a rubber wristband that has Merit Star Reader on it. But early on, calling for the privatization of the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and then pushing through Senate Bill 1 that really set the framework of today's BMV, where you're not there for 2 hours, you're maybe there for 7 minutes. The Lifeline law, where you can call and call the police, no questions asked, under 21. If you have a friend or if you're inebriated, the safe haven law, where you can drop your baby off at a fire station, a police station, or a hospital, no questions asked. And I think that has saved a lot of babies that might end up in the dumpster or harmed. My work on the opioid issue, we had 17 bills become law in the 2017 legislature, helping those that are suffering from addiction. And we crafted to those that lost their family or friends through addiction, that we tried to encourage them to use their grief for good. That we talked about addiction being a healthcare issue, not a character flaw. And there are various and sundry other points that I'm very proud of. But not only putting these bills like the Lifeline law, the Safe Haven law, the Kids First license plate, but marketing those. When we vote and the governor signs a law, there is no budget whatsoever to make the Hoosier populace, our fellow citizens, knowledgeable about the law that we had passed. And for numbers of pieces of legislation, I went out and raised money for different organizations so we could pay for awareness to college students about the Lifeline law, awareness to moms and dads about keeping your baby safe, awareness to people that they can buy the Kids First license plate, and it would go towards the prevention of child abuse, and just the sense that we can not only pass good legislation that most people didn't think could happen because it was counterintuitive. We actually were telling kids that it wasn't okay to be inebriated, but we didn't want it to cost any lives, and that we could help you. And we also had legislation that said to somebody that was had someone suffering from addiction in their household, that we made naloxone available in the drugstore for everyone. And so you're actually saying to the populace, we know people are suffering from addiction. We just don't want them to die of an overdose. And so I'm pretty passionate about this, Klopp. So resigning, my resignation on Monday was really heartfelt. And I feel like I could make more of an impact for Hoosiers on the outside of the Senate rather than in.
Okay, then let's transition. What's next for Jim Merritt?
Well, first of all, I'm going to create a podcast, as I said, and the working title is Jim Merritt's Indiana. And we're going to talk about the achievement gap between Black children and white children. We're going to talk about addiction. We're going to talk about what is actually going on with systemic racism. I saw a lot of this in my run for mayor. We're going to talk about poverty. We're going to talk about hunger. We're going to talk about different ways to create energy. we're going to talk about mental illness. I'm going to write a book about why we're in the situation we are with homelessness. And that started off with the first Constitution saying that the state of Indiana citizens are responsible for the insane. Well, in October 31, 1963, right before he died, President Kennedy signed the Community Mental Health Act, principally because of his sister Rosemary. Well, that led us to having group homes rather than having Newcastle and Muscatatuck and Central States and LaRue Carter and the Fort Wayne Development Center. And so I'm going to show why we were in charge of the insane, if you will, and how the federal government took the baton and fumbled it with group homes, and what we need to do in the future for those who are suffering from homelessness, as well as may not be on their psychotropic drugs and may be estranged their family, and pretty much what we need to do with adult protective services so that we don't have people suffering in the streets.
Cool. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to plug. Since you've stepped down, that means your replacement is going to come from a caucus, which is going to occur a week from this Saturday. Prior to that, the Greater Lawrence Chamber, in conjunction with IndyPolitics.org, which is Abdul Hakim Shabazz's business, we're going to have a candidate forum at the City of Lawrence Government Center in the Public Assembly Room next Tuesday night at 6:30. Jim, I believe you said you're going to be there with us.
Yes.
Senator Day, who I see is in the audience, is going to be the moderator along with Abdul. I also see that at least one of the people who has announced that they would like to seek your seat is in the audience. And I know that there's at least one precinct committeeman who's going to be voting in that election is joining us here. So for anybody who'd like to come and be a part of that, again, that's next Tuesday night at 6:30. Let's take this as an opportunity to open it up. Anybody who's here, do they have questions for Senator Merritt while he's joining us? Anyone? Ruston.
Hey,
Yeah.
Clark.
Here we go.
Okay.
Give an evaluation, and I recognize it's going to be very biased because you ran against him. But how Mayor Hogshead handled stuff back at the end of May, and what would you have done? What would you have done differently?
Hey, Russ, it's good to see you, Russ. Well, thank you very much. And you can always look at my comments as being biased because he won a year ago. However, I believe that Bill Benjamin would have been our chief of police. And I also believe that we would have had body cameras on all police officers starting the first week of January. And I also believe that we have started a movement in Indianapolis with the African American community. I've heard a lot from them in the last year, and we will continue to talk to them because it's the right thing to do. But I got a lot of juice, a lot of fuel from my friends in the African American community, and I want to expand on my Black agenda that was, I think, profound and a very good start for the city of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana. And you'll be hearing a lot from me in regards to that. We would have, when the Reed police action shooting happened in early May, IMPD, if I would have been mayor, would have been on high alert all the month of May. And we would have been ready for those Friday and Saturday nights, not because of George Floyd, but because of the Reed tragedy, if you will. And we would have been working with the governor. I think the governor sat on his hands waiting for the mayor to call him on that Friday and Saturday night, and that would not have been the case. We would have had a full force of IMPD, Indiana State Police, and the National Guard out when that Friday and Saturday night would have occurred, and we would not have allowed people to drive or be on Monument Circle. We would not have allowed anybody to be on the War Memorial grounds. We would not have allowed people to be on the State House grounds. People would have been able to peacefully protest. I'm all for that. But for people to come in from Chicago in different areas and rip up our city and want to do it, finish it off with Mass Ave the following week, because we know that was going to occur, was just not going to happen on my watch.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Russ, for the question. Anyone else have questions for Senator Merritt while he's with us? Eric, I will let you go next.
Hey, Senator Merritt, it's good to see you again virtually.
Eric,
I'm running at the next caucus for Jim's seat. He's been a huge mentor to me, and has answered all of my questions, no matter how crazy or silly they've been. It's just been great to me. And so, with 30 years of experience, what are you going to miss most about being a senator and being in the Senate?
I think what I will miss most is someone calling me up and saying that they have a situation that needs a resolution, and they have kind of reached their tipping point, and the frustration has set in, and they need my help. And then I'm able to calm them down and find the solution for them. And I enjoy the people of the Senate. I enjoyed the people of the State House. That's a gorgeous place. It's a working museum, and I'm gonna miss that as well. But the problem solving, Eric, is something that I think you know that I really relished, and I'm hopeful that I can do that just because of my relationships. But I'm going to miss that, being able to just pick up the phone and call somebody, and that's really what I'm going to miss the most.
But you won't miss guys like Andy Zay, right?
You know, I have so much hope for the Senate to be a great, continually a great place, and Andy Zay is a big part of that future. And he and I have, he probably would be upset about this, but he and I are like-minded, and we have the same goals. We have the same interests, and I'm just so pleased that he and Senator Kreider, and among many others, care about mental illness, care about addiction, and it gives me great pleasure that he's going to be there for some time now.
Other questions for Senator Merritt while he's present? So, all right, without other questions, I will ask another question in the couple minutes that we have left. So Jim, tell me, what is your favorite thing about Lawrence, other than me in the chamber, obviously?
My favorite thing about Lawrence is that you can pick up the phone and call Mayor Collier. You can run into him in a restaurant. He doesn't have security. I think that the open arms of the city of Lawrence, and where it's a very, very friendly place, the police officers are so friendly. I think that's what I value the most about Lawrence, is that it's just a wide open, loving place, and that's a very interesting question, Klopp. But it's been my experience for many years now that they feel as though they can contact me as a state senator, and I think the citizens are in very, very good hands with a growing community that Lawrence is.
All right, well, thank you. So we have hit the top of the hour. Senator Merritt, thank you very much for your friendship. Thank you for your service to the state of Indiana. Thank you for joining us today. This has been fantastic. Now that you're quasi semi-retired, at least from public service, this means you and I can get together for lunch more often.
I would like that, and drag Smythe along with you.
I will, but he doesn't like to cross the county line.
Oh,
So,
Make him buy.
Actually, I think I'm not welcome. I don't know whether I want to.
Those, there might be a restraining order. So
Thanks,
for everybody else who's here, a couple of announcements. We are having an unscheduled cruise-in today on Lawton Loop, extending our Wednesday cruise-ins that we've always had. I think cars are going to start showing up at 3 o'clock. I know that I've gotten notice that there are going to be several neat ones that have not been out there before. So if you want to come out, see some cool cars and enjoy a nice afternoon, come out and join us for the Greater Lawrence Chamber Cruise-In. And then, as I said, next Tuesday, if you like, make plans to attend our candidate forum for the folks that are seeking to replace Jim in a Senate 31 seat. And then also for everyone, keep in mind, 2 weeks on November 17th, we are doing our Women in Leadership Forum. It's an annual event we do here at the Chamber. This year, it's going to be virtual. Make sure you get your tickets, plan on attending. Anybody who attends is going to get a goodie bag. There's going to be an after hours specifically for the attendees of that event. So, and that's brought to us by Community Health Network. So thank you, Community Health Network, for your sponsorship. And speaking of sponsorships, if you would like to sponsor our chamber chats, we are looking for sponsors. Send me an email. Or next year, we're also looking for sponsors for our cruise-ins. So please let us know. Otherwise, obviously, we haven't done a chamber chat in a couple weeks because I had a little touch of the COVID. But thank you all for being here. I think we had some pent-up demand. So I appreciate you all being here. We'll do this again next Wednesday at 1:30. So be looking for the announcement on who our guest is going to be. But otherwise, thank you all for attending, and I'll see you here in the next week.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks, Brad. Thank you, Jim.